Okay, so we are still trying to prove our innocence. I'm kind of hoping that the internet works with me a little bit better today because it kept dying out on me yesterday. So let's see where we are at in the story. Our duty is to make sure this crime scene isn't disturbed. Ready to hand over to Hong Kong police. I'm just keeping watch here, trying not to take my eyes off the job. I see. There is one thing. I do have a small piece of new information for you. Oh? What? Yes, do tell us, Inspector, please. Okay, so what is your new information? What is this new information you have, Inspector? It's this. The Bureau's medical officer has finished his examination of the body. I managed to obtain the report. Oh? Kazuma's post-mortem report? Kazuma-sama. So, what was the cause of death? Damage to cervical vertebrae is what's written in the report. His neck was broken? Yes, it would seem so. There's no obvious wounds or other signs of injury, so at first, I think they were considering poison. That'd be weird at 2 poison cases in a row, but it turns out they found no trace of poison in his system at all. Well, what weapon was used then? Nothing has been found as yet, but the fact there's no signs of a wound suggests it might have been a blunt object, something that wouldn't leave a mark. Oh, I see. All the body's nerves run through the spine to the brain. A strong enough impact to the neck could induce death. It's a possibility, and no obvious wound would be left. Poor Kazuma. I have a second copy of the report. If it might be useful, you're welcome to have it. Really? Are you sure? Yes, it's fine. I trust you. After all, if I didn't trust you, I'd never have agreed to you leaving this cabin in the first place, would I? The post-mortem report has been entered into court record. Okay, so the great detective. Let's get some more information about him. Oh, Mr. Sholmes was here, wasn't he? Yes, he seemed to be enjoying himself a little too much as he crept about the floor investigating. But then he suddenly left. I suppose he must have been bored. Did he say anything at all? Actually, now that you mention it, yes. Just one thing, and he practically shouted it. It's shoe polish, was all he said. Shoe polish? I wonder what he meant. It was when he was over there, by the piece of broken glass. Do you see? Ah, perhaps he was talking about the brick-colored mark, do you think? Yes, that must be it. But how can Mr. Sholmes know it's shoe polish? That leaves me cold, I'm afraid. I have no idea. What is it, Sarasada-san? Well, Kazuma-sama was wearing leather shoes of very dark tan hue. Dark tan? A dark brownish red, then. Yes, a little like the color of red wine, but darker. I often prepared them for him. Oh, does this mean that this mark was made by a polish on Kazuma's shoes as they scuffed on the floor? Okay, so we're getting some new information, or at least some new evidence. That's really all I can tell you at this stage. I should return to my post. My fellow crewmen's eyes are boring into the back of my head. Yes, that might be for the best, thank you. Poor Inspector, he looks exhausted. Oh, no, well... I feel terrible I failed to protect Azogi-san. He was my responsibility. Of course, my pain is nothing compared to yours. You are his friend. The truth is, I seem to have a heavy head ever since I woke up this morning. A heavy head? That's interesting. My head's still throbbing too. Okay, so this is new. This is where Kazama spent his final moments writing in his diary. 123, I hear a faint whistling sound. 135, it looks like some sort of speckled band is dingling from the ventilator grill. Looking at the writing on this page, it's almost impossible to believe that he's gone. Kazuma-sama left us a valuable clue in those words, I'm sure of it. We have to solve this mystery, Naruhito-san. We will. So it's clear that these letters were written with ink that somehow spilled on the floor. They spelled the Russian word for wardrobe. It does seem like an unambiguous pointer to you, Naruhodo-san, as you were sleeping in there. But to be truly ambiguous, it should have just spelled out my name, don't you think? Well, either way, one fact remains. It's hard to imagine Kazuma-sama would have written his last words or word in Russian, which begs the question of who did write it. Let's check the grill again. So this is the ventilator joints to Miss Pavlova's cabin. Yes, that's right. And just a few minutes before he died, Kazuma saw something emerging from it. The speckled band, as he described it. If only Miss Pavlova had been able to shed some light on it. But she sees as baffled as we are. Yes. I wonder if she's telling us everything, though. I'm not sure. I know most people on the board would say the same about me, but there was something about that woman that didn't sit right with me. So what else do I gotta look for? This is upright again. All the books provided for passengers are occupied in the cabin, neatly arranged on the shelf. They were all over the place when we first looked around, if you remember. Ah, yes. And you tidied them up, didn't you? You have to look after the ship property. Unruly behavior in the cabins leads to damage. It really wasn't me who knocked him over. Well, anyway, I feel much better now that I'm neatly lined up. I can't relax when things are untidy. Okay, so these are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Bura. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. By bringing her pet on board, Miss Pavlova has broken the rules. She called it her friend, didn't she? Yes, although we don't know what kind of form this friend takes as yet. I'm almost certain that whatever it is, it's in the traveling case in her cabin. A friend. There's more to this than it seems, I think. Didn't technically Azuma also break the rules? He's got a sword, like, right here. That's Kazuma-san's precious sword. He never went anywhere without it. Yes, he's always saying that a Japanese man's katana is his soul. I believe he had to work very hard to convince the government to allow him to bring it on this trip. This was just shows how important it was to him. And now he's gone, but I'm not ready to let his spirit go just yet. Do you have anything new to say? Where did you go? Sorry, Why? Who gave you permission? Okay, he's saying the same thing. I remember this. Okay, we have this again. It really is such a beautiful color, this glass. It looks like whatever it was broke clean in two, but the other half is nowhere to be seen. And there's the brick-colored mark, which is shoe polish, according to the great detective who seemed to know all about it. I suppose it must be from Kazuma-sama's shoes. Maybe, but what I'd like to know is, how can a detective be so sure it's shoe polish and not something else? Because he's a great detective, of course. That's hardly a reason, is it? Oh, damn it. I didn't mean to click on that. Okay, let's go in the hallway, see if anything changes. Look, Naruhodo-san. Seaman Stroganoff is gone. Strong enough? The burly Russian soldier who's always crossing his arms and glaring at us. Oh, these Russian names are impossible to remember. Did you hear that? It sounded like someone singing. Tra-la-la-li-li-li-li. I did it the great detective way. It's caroling. I know that lark-like voice. Never mind that now. This is a golden opportunity for us. Yes, you're right. We must seize it. Let's get inside Miss Pavlova's cabin while we can and investigate. Definitely, before that stringy knot crewman comes back. It's Stroganoff, not stringy knot. Okay, so we can actually have the opportunity to go in here. Okay, so it looks like it kind of gives us a clue if there's any, like, more information. Because it just says his quarters, but this actually says I think we should investigate more in this area. But for right now, let's go to Miss Pavlov's cabin. Miss Pavlova isn't back yet. Sasato-san. Oh, where's she gone? Hey, what are you doing? Those things are her private things. There's not a moment to waste now, Naruhodo-san. We must investigate as quickly as we can. I suppose you're right, for Kazuma's sake. I do like the animations. Not just for Kazuma-sama. What do you mean? It can't be long until we arrive at port in Hong Kong. I don't want to see you in those handcuffs when we get there. Really? We must solve this case, Naruhodo-san, by ourselves if we have to. Yes, we will. Okay, so now we gotta examine her room. Let's see. Naruhodo-san, are you there? Sorry, I'm right here, yes. Why? Oh, good. I thought you might be climbed into the wardrobe when I wasn't looking. No place like home. Believe me, I don't have this strange compulsion to jump in every wardrobe I see, you know. Well, anyway, I'm not sure anyone could fit inside this one. It's full of beautiful outfits. I suppose they're all stage costumes. I was rather hoping we might find Miss Pavlova's friend hiding in there. No such luck. There's one of these next to the bed in Kazama's cabin, too. Yes, it's a bell cord. I can't resist. We are in the room we're not supposed to be in. She barely hesitated there, and she gave it a good tug, too. No, I didn't expect anyone to come. We don't want them to. We're trying to investigate in secret. So this is the ventilator connects to Kazuma's cabin next door. Yes, although what a fool of a shipbuilder must have been to open a ventilator into another room. Maybe it's so that if there's a gas leak next door, the occupant of the cabin would notice and raise the alarm? Or the occupants of both cabins would die of gas poisoning. That is a possibility. Anyway, last night Kazuma wrote that he saw a speckled band coming out of his ventilator. Investigate thoroughly, but nothing can find any other place. The door? This cabin door has the same simple sort of bolted latch that our cabin door has. If the bolt's drawn across, there's no way anybody could enter the cabin from outside. It's not a particularly heavy-duty bolt, is it? But still, it won't slide across on its own accord, would it? No, and the door is made of metal, so there's no chance of trickery using magnets to unbolt it from the outside. And it seals up perfectly, too, to stop any seawater coming in. So it couldn't use the method you told me of passing a thread through a crack around the closed door either. I seem to know a lot of tricks for opening doors. I'm starting to see why they suspect me. Yes, they displayed this in the cabin too. Look, the SS Bureau's rule of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or dangerous objects. We've read this like 100 times. I suppose Miss Pavlov realized she needed to keep the contents of her case a secret after she read this. Her special friend, I mean. I wonder where her friend had disappeared to. Probably having fun exploring the ship, I imagine. I just hope that Seaman Stroganoff doesn't find it and throw it overboard. Yes, so do I. All the books have toppled over together, look. Every single one. Do you think there's a god of the sea, perhaps? He's toppled too. It's exactly the same as the bookcase next door. Kazuma's cabin. Perhaps Perhaps Miss Pavlova was practicing a difficult ballet pose and fell against a bookcase? I don't know. Wouldn't she really be practicing ballet on the same night she ran away from her ballet company? Alright then. It must have been you. You lost your temper and knocked them all over in a fit of rage. Everything bad that happens on this ship is because of me, you know. Well, anyway, I'll set them straight again in here too. I don't like seeing things in disarray. Okay. Let's go ahead and check. My, Miss Pavlova's case is open. It's completely empty inside. According to the great detective's great deduction, she was hiding her special friend in there. Yes, a friend that she had to keep in secret. Because you're not allowed to bring animals aboard the SS Bura. I wonder what kind of animal she had in there. More to the point, where is it now? Check the desk. There's just a few books on the desk, nothing else by the looks of it. Oh, Miss Pavlova only ran away from the ballet last night. She hardly occupied this cabin for any time at all. It's true. I wonder what kind of book she likes to read. Let me see. Yes, I see. It would seem that Miss Pavlova enjoys reading books written in Russian. Thanks. I think I probably already knew that. It's rude not to ask too much of people, Naruhodo-san. Kindly remember that. I suppose every cabin has a waste paper basket. Shall I have a look and see what's been thrown away? Naruhodo-san, it's poor etiquette to go sifting through someone's rubbish, you know. Those eyes. She's looking at me like I'm a piece of rubbish now. However, these are special I think I've already read this, didn't I? Exactly, we have no choice. There's hardly anything in here at all. Oh, well that's a little disappointing. I wonder what this little saucer is doing on the floor. It doesn't look like it's been dropped. Not like it was put there deliberately. Do you think there could be a leak in the roof just above here? A leak? Is the ship quite safe? I'm sure that even if there's a little leak in the roof... wait. I'm sure that even if there's a little leak in the roof, it doesn't mean the whole ship is going to sink. No, you're right. Of course you're right. She's really trying to persuade herself, isn't she? It would seem like this teapot is empty. So the natural conclusion is that Russians are very thirsty people. Or because Miss Pavlova only came in the cabin last night, so she hasn't chanced to make any tea yet? I mean, it could be either. It's definitely that they're excessively thirsty. I'd lay 1,000 to 1 on it. You're rather obstinate, aren't you, Naruhodo-san? No. Okay, so is there anything else that's... We investigated the table, we got the saucer over here. Bookshelf's done. Wardrobe. Bell cord. Honestly, I'm not really seeing anything else. Let's go back in the hallway. Oh, Herlock, how's it going, dude? Mr. Sholmes, look. Oh, you never know where he's gonna turn up next, do you? He seems to be stealing a look at something as he sings to himself. Tra-la-la-la-la-lay, I did it the great detective way. He's still singing. You think he hasn't noticed us? Or he's simply in extremely high spirits. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when the yard bit off more than it could chew. And through it all, when there was doubt, it's lucky Herlock was about. Excuse me? I solved it all, and I stood tall. I did it the great detective way. Mr. Sholmes! What is it? You want to fight, Honestly, interrupting a fellow when he's singing? And just as I'm about to reach the climactic finish. Sorry, I thought you were never going to stop, so I figure now is as good a time as any. I fairly nearly dropped you to the floor with my famous right hooks. Alright, I get the picture. Now could you put those fists away? Mr. Sholmes, you seem to be examining something before we interrupted you. This character's fucking amazing. Yes, that. I was immersed in the study of the ship's log, as penned by the stockily built crewman who usually is on guard here. Yes, the ship's log. And did you find anything useful from it? Well, after 2 a.m. this morning, the majority of the entries are blank. Which means there's nothing to report. Nothing of note happened, so... You truly are a student from the land of the rising sun. You've been utterly blinded by it. Sorry? Your logic, my boy, is inverted. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? Observe the other pages and all shall become clear. It would seem the same crewman oft stands entry in the first-class passageway, and he has an almost religious practice of recording nothing to report every half hour. Oh, he writes in there every 30 minutes? Nothing to report. Precisely. Put simply, the seaman writes nothing to report when there is just that. And yet, the ship's log from last night is largely blank. He didn't even write nothing to report. Do you mean... Yes, there were circumstances afoot last night which led to the seaman being absent from his post. What kind of circumstances? What happened? That remains a mystery for now. We can be sure something significant took place. So significant that it caused the seaman to forget his regular habit of scribbling nothing to report in the log. These are important details. I'd stake my life on it. You must log the ship's log in your mental file. Now that deduction was worthy of a great detective. Ah, you're starting to understand and see what my way is, I see. What makes Sholmes' brilliance. Ouch. What is it? Are you hurt? Oh, don't worry yourself. I seem to have afflicted with a throbbing head this morning for some reason, nothing more. Well, my friends, until our next encounter. He's still singing to himself. I can hear it as he wanders off down the hall passageway. Is something wrong, Susato-san? It's just... well, I feel the same. Sorry? Ever since I woke up this morning, I've had something of a headache. A sort of continuous throbbing. Oh, you too? I forget, what is the situation here exactly? Let's go back in here. Maybe there's something changes now that we've got done. What's that? Shut down the emergencies immediately. Vessel sighted on the quarter-mile 4. Full stop. Hard to starboard. All hands face your impact. What the? I think we're about to crash into another ship. What? I can't stand. Susato-san, hold on to me. Susato-san, are you alright? Are you injured at all? I think I'm fine. Thank you, Naruhodo-san. It looks like we avoided a collision. I think... yes, the ship has come to a stop. My goodness, what about Naruhodo-san? Are you hurt? No, I'm fine. Hello? Is anybody in there? Shout if you need assistance. Oh, that sounds like... Inspector Hosonaga. Are you in, Naruhodo-san? Unbolt the door, quickly. What? The bolt? Look at that. The door's bolted. Did you do that, Susato-san? No, I didn't touch it. Well, that's strange. How did... And look at all the books. They're just like they were before. Okay, so that tells... that gives us the information we need to know how the room got locked. Aren't you going to open the door and let the inspector in? I better tidy up the place first. Our violent emergency stop had solved one mystery, at least, in a very vivid way. But I knew what awaited us on the other side of the cabin door would not be pleasant. I hurried around tidying up the cabin with a new sense of foreboding in my heart. Oh, it's gonna end there? What? Okay. Kinda weird. January, SS Brera, Miss Pavlova's cabin. Somehow, the door to the cabin we were in ended up bolted after we made an emergency stop. Sav-san took a deep breath, then gently slid back the bolt. You. What are you doing in Miss Pavlova's quarters? We both look unharmed. Good. Yes, we're fine, thank you. What on earth happened? We heard something about how we were going to collide with another ship. Yes, it appears to have been a false report, though. How did that happen? There's a dense fog outside, so it's extremely difficult to see. Someone must have thought he saw a ship ahead. The person obviously triggered the alarm, and that's why we made an emergency stop. Everything is in chaos. Passengers are screaming. Crew are running everywhere. This first-class area is the only quiet part of the ship at the moment. I see. Someone triggered the alarm. Does that mean that someone pressed the button outside? You wicked intruder dressed in black. You were the devil. Sorry, me? I've been called a lot of things before, but devil is the first. You opened my traveling case. How could you? No, we didn't touch it. That's right, Miss Pavlova. It was already open when we came into your cabin. Inspector. Yes? Arrest this man. I know he did it. He is a criminal. Is it not enough he has killed a man? Dah, he has stowaway as well. If Vixen promises not to steal chicken, do you believe? Take him away. He's a trespasser as well as everything else. Stowing away, trespassing, killing. She is right. You are devil. It doesn't look good, does it? There is sailboat below deck. Throw him in. Tomorrow we dock in Hong Kong. Then we give you straight to police. Wait, a cell? Please, Inspector Hasanaga, is there nothing you can do? It is a Russian vessel. I really have no jurisdiction here. After my last effort to appeal to the captain's good nature, I think I'm out of options. This is terrible. This is a real crisis. I gotta find a solution. Immediately. Okay, let's talk to one of them. You got yourself into a difficult situation here. By entering the cabin uninvited, I mean. Sorry, I just desperate to find a clue. I'm afraid there's really nothing more I can do to help you. If I push my luck any further, a punch to the face will be the least of my worries. I'm really sorry. I have to take responsibility for giving you the freedom to investigate Miss Pavlova's cabin. Now that this has happened, I'll have to report to the captain at once. I really need some help here. I need a savior to rescue me from this crisis. Please, just give me a little more time. I do nothing for you, except show you the ship's prison cell. Thanks, but no thanks. But I'm innocent. I didn't kill anyone. And trespassing? Stowing away? Well, you know, sometimes life can lead you down some unusual avenues, and well... Enough. You are guilty. Ship cell only place fit for you. Come on, there has to be someone, some savior to rescue me from this crisis. Miss Pavlova, can I... Get out. Listen, I'm sorry we snuck in here without permission. Get out, now. We need to investigate in here to help understand what happened to... It's no use, she's not going to listen. I need to find someone who will. What the fuck are you doing, Holmes? What the... What are you doing up there? Mr. Sholmes? And why do you have the tiara? Naturally, I was analyzing what a weight of 20,000 rubles feels like on one's head. Have I not told you that as a detective, it is my business to know what other people do not? It isn't mere tomfoolery, my boy. Oh, no, no. Well, why were you hanging from that hook before then? Isn't it obvious? To probably assess the weight of the 20,000 rubles, naturally. I wish to determine if it would have been a conceited-looking, hook on the wall, so full of brag and bounce. I never know whether to take this man seriously or not. You again, the great detective. Ah, Inspector, I confess I've been looking for you. I have something to report to you most urgently. Well, you might try looking for me somewhere other than the hook on the wall next time. What is the report? Speak. An urgent report from a great detective can mean but one thing. Yes, the case of the curious murder that took place last night, here on this vessel, the steamship Bruya, has been solved. By me, naturally. What? Really? Yes, I've eliminated all of the possibilities. No other explanation exists. So allow me to illuminate all your minds. For I'm about to reveal my greatest detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case. Are we doing another dance of deduction? Please tell me we're doing another one. You've solved it? Even Hedgehog understands this case. We all know who's responsible for killing Student Boy this morning, and we found the criminal in wardrobe. It is this stowaway, and he has handcuffs to prove it. I didn't do it. The trouble is, there doesn't appear to be anyone else who could have killed the victim, because as everyone knows, the cabin door was bolted shut from the inside. That means the culprit was someone who was inside the cabin. Yes, it's what's called a locked room mystery in detective stories. Locked room, that is point. The room was locked. Well, I can't deny that. There's no way the bolt that could have been drawn across from the outside the cabin. You were all quite mistaken. The cabin next door is not a so-called locked room at all. What? Oh yes, there is another entrance. An entrance used last night by the culprit in order to gain access to the cabin despite the bolted door. What other entrance? We never discovered one. Why, it gapes open-mouthed at you even as we speak. The ventilator, man. The ventilator? You think this is funny? I can't even put my arm through that hole. That's because your arm is as thick as tree trunks. You're suggesting that the culprit entered and left the victim's cabin through that tiny opening? It's not possible. But it is. And last night, the victim even witnessed the intruder in the act of passing through the ventilator. Mr. Sholmes, do you mean... Are you referring to the words Kazuma-sama wrote in his diary? 1:23, I could hear a faint whistling sound. 1:35 a.m., what looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. Precisely, my dear madame. What does it mean? What is this speckled band? The answer to that particular conundrum is in this very cabin. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? There's a distinct element of danger, but fear not, I am ready. What I am about to expose for you all to see will shock you to your cores. Behold. What the... Allow me to introduce you all to the band. The speckled band. A snake? Indubitably. Mr. Sholmes, just one thing. Pray, what troubles you? Well, that snake isn't really speckled, is it? It looks more stripy, wouldn't you say? Yes, you're right. I think in this case, you'd have to call it the striped band, wouldn't you? You both see and observe with distinction, however. Do you not think that is precisely the trap in which the culprit wishes you to fall? Oh my goodness, really? It's a trap? How exactly? I think perhaps it's time I explain the intricacies of my train of thought. Are you ready, Miss Pavlova? I'm sorry for the young man who died, but that is all. His death has nothing to do with me. The whole thing has nothing to do with me. There are two conclusions I've drawn from the facts. Number one, last night, your friend infiltrated the victim's cabin. And number 2, the same friend was responsible for the victim losing his life. No. She's turned as white as a bowl of rice again. Sholmes must be right. He's hit the nail on the head. This young woman's friend killed Mr. Azagi? It looks like he can't speak with the snake coil around his head. I would advise as little movement as possible, Seaman. You wouldn't want the fangs of that long friend in your neck. So everyone, let us begin. Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Yes! This is amazing. Miss Pavlova, moments ago you claimed the following. His death is nothing to do with me. The whole thing is nothing to do with me. And yet you cannot deceive yourself. Yes, when you recall those horrid events, your aching heart smarts with pain. And it's that very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. So, we ask, what was the nature of the intruder that stole into the victim's cabin on that portentous night? Why, naturally, it was the friend of which you boarded this vessel, was it not? Ah, as I suspected. Another telltale glance. Without doubt, your friend is the writhing serpent we see before us. And yet, that fact leaves us in a quandary. The victim's written observations of the night in question tell of a speckled band, whereas regrettably, the specimens marking do not fit the description in any way. This poor guy. What explanation can we give, pray? What was the sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night? No, don't look at me. This has nothing to do with any of this. Oh, but it does. For you have the answer to this quandary even now, hidden behind your back. Yes, that which you're trying but failing to conceal can only be the snake's slouched skin. Evidently, after subtle and horrible crime, this most daring friend of yours shed its original skin, no? I don't know what you're talking about. Last night, through the ventilator visible in this cabin, your then speckled friend stood next door. Using the bell cord on the other side as a bridge, the serpent silently descended into the victim's quarters. In the dim light, it appeared to the young gentleman who was about to lose his life as a speckled band. In summary, the nature of the friends of yours which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime is a rare breed of snake whose markings change each time it sloughs its skin. A snake so dreadful, we can only imagine it would be found in the deepest depths of India. Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter, the grim demise of the victim. How did this young man lose his life, and why? According to the data on which I have been appraised, it would appear that no visible signs of injury. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom. Now, if we take that as fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime. Oh no, could there be? Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death conclusively. The almost, but not quite, impenetrable puncture wounds left by the venomous fangs will seal the truth. Yes, the vestiges of snakebite delivered by your terrifying friend. This makes no sense. There's no point feigning ignorance, Miss Pavlova. After the incident, you endeavored to hide everything, didn't you? But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. That's right. You hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in the traveling case. When we first met in the cabin, it came to my attention that your case moved periodically. And your serpent assassin was restless inside, no doubt. You don't... It is telling that the victim made note of a low whistling note sound when he heard minutes before his end. That was your signal, was it not? The sound you used to train your serpent friend? To train? Indeed. You put that serpent through the ventilator and wait. After a period, you summon it back with a whistle. You couldn't know if the animal had done its duty, so you would listen for signs of life next door. If the victim appeared not to have been dispatched, you released the snake once more. Do you deny the snake has undergone such training? It's not true. Having slid it through the ventilator and down the bell cord, the creature needed only to sink its fangs in once. Its venom would course through the victim's veins, ending his existence forever. That is the whole true nature of the speckled band that took this poor man's life. There could be no doubt. My logic is infallible. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of the speckled band. Miss Pavlova had trained her pet snake as a killing machine. There, on the floor, you'll observe a saucer of milk. The promised food is key to training any creature. Incredible. You've solved a mystery. Amazing. Your great deduction really lives up to its name. See why Herlock Sholmes has become such a household name. My dear man, it was nothing remarkable. As the Russians say, I could have done it with one left hand. Could I venture an opinion, Mr. Sholmes? But of course, what's on your mind? It's just, about your deductions before. Some things don't quite make sense to me. I welcome questions to my method, and will answer both loudly and proudly. Oh, well, good. First of all, snakes are egg-laying creatures, part of the reptile family. You're well informed, madame. And reptiles, don't drink milk. It's really only mammals that like to drink milk, you see. So, I'm not sure it'd be possible to train a snake using milk as a reward. No matter. No doubt Miss Pavlova used some other treat to encourage her pet to do her bidding. Milk was merely an example. The logic holds. Well, there is something else. Snakes have no ears. Yes, so I'm not sure if it's really possible to signal a snake by whistling. But madame, what are the tales of Arabia? Have you not heard that snakes that dance to the sounds of a flute? I think perhaps the performers play their music in time with the snake's natural movements. Oh, I see. No hands, no feet, no ears? These creatures are so inept as to be practically useless. Don't take it on the snakes, Mr. Sholmes. There's one other thing. You have more? Snakes use their scales on their bellies to propel themselves. So, I'm not really sure that a snake could manage to climb up a flat bell cord like the one in these cabins. Then it should try harder. Please, don't be angry with me, Mr. Sholmes. The point is, even if the snake had gone through the ventilator to the next door cabin, it couldn't come back without help. What I'm trying to say is that there are a number of reasons why it's difficult to imagine a snake could have had a part in this. Oh, he looks so defeated. I think we need to step in and help again, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh no, you don't mean... Yes, we need to modify Mr. Sholmes' last deductions and turn into a great one they ought to be. I had a feeling that was coming. Alright, let's give it a try. Just what I was waiting for, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, right. So, cast your eyes down to your wrists again. What? You've done it again. Your handcuffs are gone. Where did they go? Fear not. I shall have them restored after our work is done. I really wish you'd leave them off. Now, everyone, let us begin. Herlock Sholmes are proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Miss Pavlova, moments ago you claimed the following. His death has nothing to do with me. The whole thing has nothing to do with me. You cannot deceive yourself. Yes, when you recall those horrid events, the aching heart smarts with pain. She does have a pained expression on her face. Yes, that's true. She looks as though Kazuma's death is weighing heavily on her mind. But you're not sure Mr. Sholmes has read it quite correctly, is that it? Could there be some other way to interpret her expression then? Let's take a moment and really look closely at Miss Pavlova. Okay, well, she's looking at her hand, right? Hey! What's that? Oh, Naruhodo-san, look. It looks a very painful wound. It looks like a scratch made by some kind of small animal. And fairly recently, too. Whatever scratched her doesn't appear to be around here.
Yes!
Yes, when you recall those horrid events, the claw scratches marks with pain. Indeed, and simple observation reveals that the wound is fresh. Miss Pavlova, did you in fact receive that scratch sometime last night? Whenever I think about the young man who died next door, I feel so sad. And when I'm sad, the pain from this wound is worse. And it's that very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. So we ask, what was the wait. Hello. It's the very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. And so we ask, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin that portentous night? Why, naturally, it was the friend from which you boarded this vessel, was it not? As I suspected, another telltale glance. Without doubt, your friend is the writhing serpent we see before us. It seems likely the scratch mark on the back of Miss Pavlova's hand was made by this friend of hers, doesn't it? Except, snakes don't have claws, do they? No, they don't. They don't even have hands or feet which claws might grow. Well then, if the snake isn't her pet, what is? What is the true identity of a friend of hers? Just follow her gaze, Naruhodo-san. That's where we'll find the answer. Oh, she's looking at the photo, isn't she? Aww. The photograph in the frame. This is something Miss Pavlova brought with her when she ran away. She's exceptionally beautiful, isn't she? Yes, that's true, but personally, it's the little black creature she's holding that's caught my eye. We better take a closer look at this.
Yes!
Without doubt, your little friend is the little kitten we see before us. Yes, the scratch in the back of your hand makes it abundantly clear. Oh no. The whereabouts of this little black kitten isn't clear, but what is clear is that you brought the animal with you when you ran away, didn't you? Darka is my best friend. I couldn't leave her behind. Darka would appear to be a Russian blue. And yet, the fact leaves us in a quandary. The victim's writing observations on the night in question tell of a speckled band. Whereas, regrettably, the specimen's markings do not fit the description in any way. What explanation can we give then, pray? What was the sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night? No, don't look at me. I have nothing to do with any of this. But it does. You have the answer to this quandary even now, hidden behind your back. Yes, that which you are trying but failing to conceal can only be the snake's sloughed skin. Did you see that? She just took something out of her pocket and hid it behind her back. If she just left it in her pocket, no one would even have known. Yes, employees like that are Mr. Sholmes' specialty. He ever so cleverly forced her to reveal something. I thought deduction was his specialty. Maybe, or maybe making me believe that was a ploy too. Anyway, I find it hard to believe that's a skin of a snake. In which case, just what is Miss Pavlova hiding behind her back? Yes, it's her right ear. What do you have back here? Wow, it's speckled, and it's a band, but what is it? It seems soft and fluffy. A long piece of cloth of some sort? It looks like a candle at one end. I think it may be a cat toy. That sort is common in the West, apparently. How is that a toy for cats? Cats like to chase the band around and paw at it. Kids in particular love that sort of play. You only need to wave it in front of them and they pounce to catch it. It sounds positively adorable.
Yes!
Yes, the thing you're trying but failing to conceal is, a cat's toy. Precisely, in the true nature of the now infamous speckled band. And it was this toy that you dangled through the ventilator. You waved it around, I presume. Naturally, the victim could not fail to notice it. But why? For what reason? My dear boy, there can only be one answer to that. After her feline friend disappeared through the ventilator in the neighboring cabin, Miss Pavlova attempted to use a speckled cat toy to recite the creature to return. Ah. In summary, the nature of this friend of Miss Pavlova's, which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime, is a blithesome Russian blue breed of cat by the name of Darka. A truly troublesome feline young Darka is proving to be. She must be caged once found. You'll forgive us for borrowing the photograph of your pet, Miss Pavlova. It was after I gave her food last night. That's when it happened. She scratched the back of my hand, and then ran up the bell cord. Before I could do anything, she had disappeared through the ventilator. Darka, she is so naughty. Okay, so that's part one done. One second. Moving on, we came to the heart of the matter. The grim demise of the victim. How did the young man lose his life, and why? According to the data which I have been appraised, it would appear that no visible signs of injury. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by terrible venom. What Mr. Sholmes says is true. There are no signs of wound anywhere on Mr. Kazuma's body. That's right. Mr. Sholmes seems to be unaware of one very important detail. Kazuma's hand wasn't poisoned. Yes, it would seem so. Let's give him the information he is missing now.
Yes!
In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by the post-mortem report. Yes, I knew there was one or the other. His neck was... Indeed, the breaking of the cervical vertebrae is fatal. Only that Goliath would be strong enough to survive that. Seems Stroganoff is not some immortal freak, you know. The jury is out. Anyway, we have a good authority that the victim's neck was broken. Now, if we take that as fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm that at the scene of the crime. Could there be? Yes, an examination of the deceased's body will prove the cause of death conclusively. Kazuma died because his neck was broken. In other words, he was probably struck by something or someone. Yes, it's a distinct possibility. Yet no weapons has been found, though. Presumably Daka didn't silently creep up behind Kazuma and deal him a fatal blow. I suppose it's possible that he'd fall and hit the ground awkwardly? It could have been a terrible act of misfortune that he broke his neck completely by accident. Yes, a bad fall could explain it. I find it hard to believe Kazuma-sama, though. He wasn't a clumsy man. Well, we need to fix this deduction somehow. Is there anything from the scene that could explain what happened? Yes, the scuff mark, right?
Yes!
Yes, the examination of the mark on the floor will prove the cause of death conclusively. This particular mark was so prominently visible next to the victim's body, it's a deposit of shoe polish. Shoe polish? Indeed, positively identified by a little analysis machine I constructed, which I now carry as a matter of course. Beeswax, tallow, and dye were my results, and undeniable ingredients of shoe polish. And the color of the polish is a perfect match to the color of Mr. Sagi's laced leather shoes. Looking at this mark, it is not hard to imagine what happened. For some reason, Mr. Zoki must have caught his foot at some point on the floor and tripped. Please, no. And by the dreadful turn of misfortune, caught his neck against some immovable object as he fell to the floor. Suffering a fatal blow to the spine, the victim's vertebrae shattered, and in an instant, he lost his life. No. I don't know. I don't know anything about this. Is that really true, Miss Pavlova? What about the evidence left at the scene where Sarasagi lost his life? Yes, the facts are as clear to me. You did all you could conceal the incriminating evidence. But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. That's right. You hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that traveling case. I don't believe it. Kazuma-san merely tripped over and now he's no more? It can't be true. I refuse to accept it. I know it's hard to believe, but the mark on the floor does seem to suggest that's what happened. But if this is part of Mr. Sholmes' deduction is right, Ms. Pavlova is trying to hide some evidence that would prove it. Here in this cabin, somewhere in the direction she cast her eyes. Where, I wonder? Let's have a good look around. It's a wastepaper basket. Perhaps all of first-class cabins have it, but Ms. Pavlova's only started occupying the cabin late last night. Presumably there's not much rubbish in there yet. Hey, that wasn't there before. What's that? It's a broken piece of glass, isn't it? Yes, it is. I feel I've seen it somewhere before. It looks familiar. Perhaps it's more your mind simply playing tricks on you?
Yes!
That's right. You hid the evidence that links to the victim's death in that wastepaper basket. Here we have a fragment of some intricate glass object, it would seem. One that has a familiar air, in fact. Precisely. We found another piece of broken glass on the floor in Mr. Azagi's cabin. And as you can see, the two pieces fit together perfectly. Oh no. So, Miss Pavlova, shall we consider what this tells us? Why, it would be that this part of the glass object, which was evidently broken at the scene of the victim's death, should be found in the waste paper basket in your cabin. You're well acquainted with this glass bell, are you not? I don't know, and that hushed Russian accent of yours won't save you this time, dear girl. Why? Because we have conclusive evidence linking you to the bell in question. What? Take it away, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. The evidence linking Miss Pavlova and this little glass bell, and that would be the picture from before with her cat, right?
Yes!
If you look at the photograph, you can clearly see, hanging from Darka's collar, the very glass bell in question. The truth was caught up with you, Miss Pavlova. The young man who lost his life last night did so after a terribly inauspicious fall. And the cause of that fateful stumble? Your absent feline friend, Darka. I couldn't tell anyone. I'm sorry. I just like the idea of them just dancing around the entire the room, just pointing out all these stupid facts. Why don't you tell us now, Miss Pavlova? Tell us exactly what happened last night. It was a little after 1 in the morning. I was so late that I hadn't time to feed Darka, so I gave her some food. And then, all of a sudden, she scratched me and jumped out of my hands. People do say that cats become very anxious and nervous in new environments. She was so fast, she disappeared to the ventilator before I could stop her. And that's how you acquired the most nasty wound in the back of your hand, I take it. Yes, and I had read the rules on the wall. I knew I'm not allowed to have Darka with me. Yes, modern science suggests that animals carry infectious diseases. It's a precaution, really. So I listened and listened, trying to hear if there was some noise in the next cabin. It was very quiet, I'm sure. If someone was there, he must be sleeping. So at that point, you thought it was safe to try to lure the kitten back again? By dangling the end of the toy to the ventilator into the adjoining cabin. Darka always loved this toy, but it didn't work. Nothing worked. I tried using her favorite toy. I tried whistling to her softly, but nothing. She didn't return. It's the faint whistling sound Kazuma wrote about in his diary was Miss Pavlova trying to receive her pet. Cats have a propensity to remain hidden in the shadows when frightened. Yes, so there was nothing else I could do. I just had to wait until she had calmed down. But then... I nearly passed out with the shock. I heard her cry out, and then... Oh, it was a dreadful bang. Then afterwards, nothing. It was totally silent. Kazuma was... From the appearance of the brown mark on the floor, it was likely that what you heard when the victim stepping on the glass bell and tripping up. The SS Bureau is a large vessel, but even she can pitch and roll violently without warning. If Mr. Ryagi was already off balance as a result of the ship lurching when the kitten got under his feet, the combination of unfortunate factors could easily cause him to fall over. But what became of the kitten afterwards? In the end, I managed to get her out to come back through the ventilator. Yet Darka is nowhere to be seen. I must have forgotten to lock my case, and now she's disappeared again. Gracious, that cat isn't insufferably restless as I am. Well, he knows something about himself at least. When I woke up this morning, I heard the young man in the cabin next to mine had died, but I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone what had happened. I was too scared. Scared that they would send me back. Oh, hold on a minute. What about the snake? You're right, where is it? If the snake isn't your friend, Miss Pavlova, then whose is it, and where did it come from? What on earth is such a dangerous creature doing on board the ship? Oh, I didn't say? Snake is my friend. His name is... Peroshvako? I don't want to say that. Huh? What? What? Snake belongs to you? He escaped from cage when emergency alarm sounded. I was looking for him. I didn't expect to find him in here. How did Snake get in his cabin? But animals are not permitted on board. We are at sea for 1 year. Do you want to be so long without a close friend? Without someone who understands? Couldn't you find someone a little more human who understands you better? But my dear burly fellow, a gargantuan venomous snake. Surely you can appreciate the danger you're putting everyone in. No venom. Peroshko does not have venom. He is harmless, very long and very gentle. He's adorable like Granny. It's venomless? Yes. Now he is hungry, so he is in bad mood. Once I feed him, you'll see big smile. And you feed him what? Milk, I suppose? Like they say milk, they milk chickens? Ridiculous. Snakes that drink milk only in stupid stories. Peroshko eats mouses. Big, fat, round mouses. So, is this the mousetrap in the passageway dollars for? Of course. How else could I catch my friend's favorite food? It says top of the food chain, like the look in their eyes right now. He's just so like, what the fuck? It refuses to drink milk. It can't hear a whistle. It can't climb a bell cord. It's not even venomous? How the deuce did something so inept land on a starring role? It's not my fault. I do not make up stories. My Peroshko has nothing to do with this incident. So that's what happened. That's the truth behind my best friend's tragic death. No, there's still stuff hidden here. Like, for one, if the cat went in there and knocked it over, how did the glass bell end up in his room back in Miss Pavlova's room again? At some point she had to go in there and grab it, right? Miss Pavlova. I understand the difficult situation you found yourself in, and I do sympathize, but please remember this. A young man lost his life. If you're going to attempt to cover up your guilt with lies, then no matter what the circumstances, I cannot forgive you. But what are you talking about, Miss Mikitoba? What lies? Miss Pavlova just confessed everything. It was just a series of unfortunate events, an accident. I'm no great detective like Mr. Sholmes. I don't have the gift for knowing the truth. But even I can see that's not the whole that was not the truth. Don't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? To be perfectly honest, yes. There's a discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure of it. I just can't quite put my finger on it. I confess. I was intending to let Scotland Yard deal with any outstanding issues on this matter. Oh? I'm only present here for a very specific reason. The truth is, you, Mr. Naruhodo, are simply a distraction. A distraction? I do hope you're not finding your shackles too uncomfortable. Not again. You do this, especially as they're on your wrist as a result of my intervention. I was rather hoping I could resolve matters before we made our next port call. You were Mr. Sholmes? Yes, but I overlooked one important detail. The deceased young man was a very close companion of yours. Was he not? Yes, because Elmo was my closest friend. I owe him my freedom, even. In that case, we must follow this to its conclusion. No further distractions. We must cover the real truth here, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, whatever that might be. The key to this discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure. If I can chase that down, maybe the truth will become clear. The truth about how you really died, about how that scene in your cabin really came to be. Ooh, what is this music? Alright, I'll see what I can do. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo. So then, shall we begin? Yes. What shall we ponder first? Is the victim who lost his life in the cabin that was bolted shut from the inside? Was this truly an unfortunate accident? Or was it in fact no accident at all? That is what we must establish in the first instance. Well, we've already established it, haven't we? The man tripped over a kitten that climbed in the cabin via the ventilator. Tragic, yes, but still an accident. Wait, let's take a step back. It doesn't make sense if that's what really happened, does it? I'm going to have to ask you to spell it out for me, I'm afraid. Yes, I'm starting to take shape now. There's a clear contradiction between the facts of Miss Pavlova's story here. The evidence is right there in Miss Kasuma's cabin, it's undeniable. His death couldn't possibly have been a mere accident. Really? Let us show our hand, Mr. Naruhodo. Time to present the evidence. The evidence that proves unequivocally that the victim's death was no mere accident. If it was an accident, why would he write wardrobe in purple ink?
Yes!
The truth is clearly recorded in this photographic print. There is no way that Mr. Oguzagi could have left this message on the floor. That script, it's Russian, isn't it? Indeed, it is. The word written means wardrobe. I see what you mean. Most people would leave a dying message in their native tongue. Japanese in this case. But maybe he was studying Russian. It's simple language. He could have picked it up very fast. It doesn't seem likely. That's actually not the point. It makes no difference whether he knew Russian or not. Sorry? What do you mean? Exactly what I said before. There is no way that Mr. Ozagi could have left this message on the floor. And the reason why is clearly explained in here. Damage to the cervical vertebrae resulting in instant death. Instant death. Ah. Actually, I didn't read that part, but still. Which means, after the victim fell to the floor, he couldn't have possibly written anything. Because he was already dead. That's not the only reason either. There's something else we found in Mr. Asagi's cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't possibly have been there if what Miss Pavlova told us was true. What? So Mr. Sato-san noticed it too then. Putting the message on the floor aside, there's something else that gives the truth away. Another piece of evidence that proves there's no accident, in other words. Yeah, it's gonna be this. Because again, how did the other half end up in her waistband if,
Yes!
This. A piece of broken glass next to the mark on the floor. That's the glass belt the kitten had around its neck. We already know all about that. It was broken in half when the victim tripped over the cat and fell. So we already have a satisfactory explanation. Where's the flaw in that logic? Unfortunately, there's a very big flaw. A fatal flaw. What? If that's really what happened, then how did one half of the bell end up back here in this cabin? Yes, remember what we found the other half of the glass in that waste paper basket? Would you care to explain that, Miss Pavlova? Oh no. Both these pieces of evidence clearly point to the same conclusion. That when Mr. Ozaki died last night in his cabin, there was someone else in the room. And that same person deliberately arranged the scene to disguise the truth, in order to cover up his or her own guilt. Yes, there was someone else present at Mr. Ozaki's... You are wasting time. Someone else was there? Of course, we know this. What are you talking about? bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. There was no way in or out. Yes. An ordinarily other person in cabin when student was died was you. It's true. I was in the cabin when it happened. You were shut inside the cabin wardrobe to be precise about the details. But I don't know Russian. There's no way I would have left that message. Not would have. There's no way you could have left that message. To be precise about the details. Would you mind? Forgive me, my dear fellow. As I was saying, the person in question wrote the words wardrobe in Russian on the floor. In an attempt to incriminate me for the crime, even though I had been asleep in there the entire time. And then the same person picked up the broken glass bell that had fallen to the floor, for fear of it becoming evidence that would show how Mr. Ozaki really died. Why wouldn't that person taken all the pieces of the bell that way? Leaving half behind was going to raise questions. Yes, well, it was past 1 o'clock in the early hours of the morning. The cabin would have been quite dark. A single small lamp suspended from the ceiling would barely have cast any light on the floor there. Little wonder, then, that the culprit failed to notice a fragment of a tiny item. You all suspect me, don't you? Seaman Stroganoff. Nina is woman of sea. She is daughter of strong sailor. 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills. She went away to join ballet company. But before, she was dancer on this ship, a member of the ship's band. We do not accuse Ship's Angel of being criminal. So that's it. You say that when young student died, Nina was there in her cabin? But it's not possible. I give my tooth. Well, that is almost interesting. And why would you give your tooth, pray? How could you be so sure? You are a great detective, you should know. Look truth in eyes. Cabin bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. Nobody could go into that cabin. Not Nina, not anyone. Or do you want to tell me the killer can walk through locked doors? And yet, it's impossible. He's right. But wait, I read about this in the detective stories. People often tie a thread around door hatches so they can open and close them from outside. Thread? Are you stupid? These bulkheads are not barn doors. Certainly not. These are watertight doors, as one would expect to find on any modern steamship. Constructed of heavy steel with not a gap in sight. No threads or needles or magnets could have been used. No, of course not. Mr. Naruhodo suggested it earlier, so Sato-san, how could you shift it onto me like that? So Seaman Stroganoff has a valid point. The cabin door couldn't have been bolted shut from the outside. Not necessarily. What? I put it to you that I could bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. And in this very cabin, you can see the traces of that method I have in mind being used before. I don't believe it. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, I believe you know what I mean, don't you? Way to shut the bolt of the cabin door from the outside. One way does spring to mind, yes. Do you really know what Mr. Sholmes means, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, as should you, because we've seen it happen. Indeed, we have. So would you care to do the honors, Mr. Naruhodo? Point out the telling signs of the method that was used to slide the cabin door. Okay, up to the bookshelf. Look at the bookcase there. See how all the books and things have been toppled over? That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop before. Yes, that's right. It's a powerful vessel after all. When the engines are thrown in reverse, a sudden jolt goes across the entire ship. Any small objects that aren't fastened down are bound to fall over. I believe, yes, this is the force known of inertia acting on objects. Is there nothing Sato-san doesn't know? Or that isn't in her book at least? Whatever it's called, the same force that pushed over those books in the bookcase also made something else in the cabin move. The bolt on the cabin door. It was very obvious after the emergency stop that the ship made earlier. We come in the cabin not long before, and we hadn't bolted the door. But then... Hello, is anyone in there? Shout if you need assistance. That sounds like Inspector Hosonaga? Yes. That's it. When the ship stopped suddenly, the bolt flew across and locked the door. Yes, it's made of metal, but it's small and light enough to be moved by the ship's sudden change of speed. Or the force of ineptia, is it, if you want to call it that. Are you trying to say that the last night after Mr. Azagi was killed, the SS Bureau made another emergency stop? When I woke up this morning and looked around the cabin, I thought it looked a little odd. All the books on the shelf had toppled over, and all the ornaments. It was almost as someone had run their hand across the shelves and deliberately knocked everything over. Yes, I remember that. And I stood them all up again, didn't I? And then when we came into this cabin, we were surprised to see the same thing happen in here. All the books and everything had toppled over, just like Mr. Azaki's cabin. My. Do you have anything to say about this, Miss Pavlova? Are you out of your mind? Are you saying Bureau made emergency stop? It does seem a little far-fetched. How could that possibly have happened? Unless you're saying the culprit is actually someone from the engine room. Oh, it is simple enough. Are you forgetting the button in the passageway outside? Used to trigger the emergency alarm? Yes, of course. There's a notice, wasn't there? Telling you only to press the button in times of emergency? On dark nights when the fog is dense, the captain cannot afford to rely on the eyes of his lookout alone. Hence the placement of a number of buttons around the vessel to allow any crewman to raise the alarm. The sort of button one is almost compelled to it's almost compelled to press to satisfy one's curiosity. Wait, it was you? When the button is pressed, two things happen in the interest of safety. The engine alarm bell rings and the vessel comes to a complete stop. As indeed it did a little earlier today. Love you. If you need anything, let me know. I'll try to at least wrap this case up.
Good for you. I'll keep you.
Good. Mr. Sholmes, surely it wasn't you who... As I always say, a button has but one purpose in life. To be pressed. Whatever the occasion. He sounds almost proud of himself. How dare you mess with ship? Report you to Captain. You are in much trouble now. Now, I'm sure that you can all wait until later. Let's not overlook the fact that we have now learned a valuable lesson. When the vessel makes an emergency stop, the cabin door sides closed. So, we must now consider... Yes, it all comes down to one thing now. Last night, after what happened to Mr. Azagi, did this ship make an emergency stop, or did it not? You are idiots. There is a huge ship with many passengers. If we make an emergency stop even in the middle of night, there would be chaos everywhere. What are your thoughts, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, it's certainly possible that some kind of emergency happened last night. We have evidence to support that idea. Really? What evidence, Mr. Naruhodo? Fascinating. Do show us, my good man. What evidence promotes the theory that some emergency gripped the vessel last night? The ship log, right? Because it has nothing... Normally, there's nothing to report, but there was nothing after 1:30?
Yes!
Seaman Stroganoff, it's your duty to patrol the first day class area of the ship, isn't it, right? Ah, that is correct. Why? In the ship's log here, where you record the details of your duties? What are you doing with that? That is mine. Rather carelessly left it atop a little makeshift bureau in the passageway out there. But as responsible passengers, we took it into our care with the mind to return it to you later. I left it there on purpose. It's where I put it always. The point is, look at what you usually record. It's clear that under normal circumstances you write the phrase "nothing to report" every 30 minutes. But from 2 o'clock last night until the first light this morning, nothing was recorded at all. Nothing recorded in a log? That is... because nothing happened. But if nothing happened, you would normally write nothing to report, wouldn't you? Indeed, so, which tells us that shortly after 2 a.m., something happened. Here aboard the SS Bureau. Something sufficiently significant to make you forget to fill in the ship's log, in fact. Are you suggesting the ship really did make an emergency stop in the middle of the night? Stop talking rubbish. If I'm perfectly honest, I find it a little hard to believe myself. Why? Well, because if something as major as an emergency stop really had happened, surely all of us would have noticed. It's very true. Thanks to the emergency stop we experienced earlier, we know what it feels like now. The ship lurched so violently, and the alarm bells was so loud. I can't imagine that anybody would sleep through that, even if it did happen in the dead of night. Well, no, that's the good point. What of? The throbbing. Sorry? What do you mean? Your head, man. The throbbing of your head since this morning. We've all suffered with it. Oh, yes. I have had a headache, you're right. In fact, I haven't been feeling myself since I woke up today. Nor have I. My head has been feeling heavy since ever since dawn. Yes, you've all been afflicted, haven't you? Just as I suspected. That's right. My head's been throbbing today, too. And since eating yesterday's dinner yesterday evening, everything felt sort of hazy. I can't really remember anything that happened after I climbed back inside the wardrobe. And the first thing I noticed this morning was a throbbing pain in my head. I had already been dragged out of the wardrobe. I had those handcuffs put on me at that point. Why didn't I wake up when all this was happening to me? Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, you boarded this vessel as a stowaway, didn't you? Oh, yes, sorry. The stowaway class of accommodation usually doesn't include meals. What did you survive on? Well, Kazuma looked after me. He was always happy to share his meals. So you enjoyed some of the whole roast chicken dish that was served yesterday evening, I take it? Yes, in fact, I ate all of it. Kazuma wasn't fond of chicken. Really? So the victim didn't eat any of the chicken at all? That's right, he didn't touch it. Is that relevant? My dear fellow, does that not strike you? Mr. Sholmes, do you mean to say there was something wrong with the chicken? I do. No, really? Is that really true? Your meal prepared for the passengers last night had been tampered with. Tampered with by addition of a sulfuritic, designed to induce a very deep slumber in those who consumed it. A sleeping drug? What do you mean? Whoever did lace our meal with a sleeping drug, so no one would notice the ship's emergency stop? Mr. Naruhodo, of course that's not what Mr. Sholmes means. What a far-fetched idea. Precisely. Lacing every meal of every passenger on board with a sulfitic drug would certainly be impossible, unless, that is, every single member of the crew was a conspirator. Mr. Sholmes? Well, Seaman? I'm sorry to say that any more deception in this matter will get you nowhere. If you refuse to talk, there would be an inquiry made through the shipping company, of course. And were that to happen, every member of the crew and the captain himself will be hauled over the coals for aiding and abetting a renegade. Please, no more. I will tell everything. I cannot make problems like this for everyone anymore. These crewmen are your former comrades, I believe. Yes, so when I decided to run away, I asked them to help me. They all agreed to help, everyone together. She threw away everything, her fame in the ballet, Mother Russia. We wanted to help our angel. I don't believe it. You are right. We put sleeping drug in chicken last night. I remember now. I did notice chewing on a lump of something strange and bitter at one point. We cannot make all drug. How you say, dissolve? About heavy seasoning. At midnight, in waters near Shanghai, we brought our angel on board. She was helped by a comrade on shore with a small fishing boat. While all the passengers of SS Bureau slept soundly, thanks to the almost magical effects of the slumber-inducing potion their evening meal had contained. So if that's what happened, the only people awake on the ship last night were the crew, people who disliked chicken, and the newly boarded passenger, Miss Pavlova. And that means it would have been possible for you. You could have used the emergency stop to lock Kazuma's cabin door. How does that make sense? Surely every cabin door would have been locked up in that case, and it would have been complete chaos. Well, I wouldn't say so. Of course. Just like us, all the other passengers would have eaten their evening meals of chicken in their cabins, which they would have been overwhelmed by the tiredness because of the sleeping drug. Quite, and accordingly, all passengers were already in their cabins for the night. Yes. The overwhelming majority of passengers would habitually sleep with their cabin doors bolted anyway, and so not one of them would have found it remarkable to find the door locked in the morning. In summary, in order to fasten the bolt of a single cabin door on the ship, the culprit brought the entire vessel to an emergency stop in the early hours of the morning. You have talked long enough and said many things. What is point? The point is what I said earlier. There was somebody else present on the scene when the victim lost his life last night. Someone who left a message of Russian on the floor in an attempt to incriminate another. Someone who tried desperately to hide the broken fragments of glass that would reveal the culprit's identity. And someone who abused the ship's emergency stop procedure in order to lock a door. All told, a busy night. But I don't know any of this. I'm just a little girl. You like to speak with your long English words and explain your clever ideas. But I am Sailor. Sailor don't listen to long, boring stories. We don't believe. Sailors like me, we trust only what we see with our eyes. A laudable trait. But I'm quite of the same disposition, my good man. Observation to me is everything. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes? Do you hear it? The accusatory cry of guilt on the wind? What accusatory cry of guilt? Sorry, you've lost me. Proof of involvement, man. But you can't hear such a call with your ears. No. You must hear it with your eyes, for observation is the basis of all deduction. What are you talking about? I believe the time has come for one last logic and reasoning spectacular to expose— oh god, we're doing this again. Okay. Alright, let's see where this goes. So, Mr. Naruhodo, your assistance, if you please. With what exactly, Mr. Sholmes? Just observation, my dear fellow. Like I said, of these two provocateurs? Observation. If you remember, Mr. Naruhodo, we know that somebody tried to fabricate evidence, don't we? By tampering with the scene of Mr. Azaki's death. What we're looking for is some trace of evidence that one of these two was there when it happened. Precisely. You were delightfully quick to grasp my meaning. See what I can see. So we're looking for a trace of evidence to show someone else was there the last night when Kazuma died. Okay, so we're trying to find any clue whatsoever, right? Oh, wait. So I was gonna say, it's weird that only one of her earrings has like the actual thing on there, but I think obviously the clue is obviously here, the ink stain. Oh, look at this. It's some kind of stain in an unusual place. Yes, you're right. It's like ink, if I'm not mistaken. Ink. The color too. Clear where this came from. Because this actually puts at the scene, right?
Yes!
Seaman Stroganoff, you seem to have acquired a large purple stain on your back of your white uniform there. Huh? Yes, I don't know where the dirt comes from. So nothing in particular comes to mind about the stain? What are you trying to say? It would appear that the significance of the stain has escaped your attention, Seaman. Allow me to make it plain. It's a very large purple stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform. I think what made it is clear. Indeed it is. So, Mr. Naruhodo, present the evidence that proves it. With pleasure. Alright, then the evidence that proves the stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform really is... Do I have that?
Yes!
Yes, it's this photograph, and ink it shows. That's what caused the stain on your uniform. Ink? A rather unusual color of ink, purple. Ah, the penny drops at last. Now you see the significance. The Russian word on the floor next to the victim's body was written in purple ink. And the stain on the back of the uniform is ink of the exact same color. If the ink had been dry, it couldn't have possibly stained your uniform in that way. Which means... you must have been present in the cabin almost immediately after the ink was spilt. Alright, yes. It was me. I did it. Everything. I arranged everything in Dead Student's cabin to make it look like Wardrobe Man did it. Then I pressed the button to make Bjorda do emergency stop and bolt cabin door shut. I did everything so no one would suspect our angel. Biff, please. Don't worry, Angel. Let me do talking. It was after 1 in the morning. I was on duty patrolling passageway. Then our angel came to me. She was white like sheet. Biff, please, you must help me. I went with her. The door to the cabin 1 was open. When I looked inside, I saw a student boy on the floor. What happened here? Please don't tell anyone. My little one, my little furry friend. Everything that happened in cabin is like Angel told you. The kitten escaped through ventilator into Mr. Ozaki's cabin. Then he tripped over it and broke his neck when he fell to the floor. Yes, that is right. So after the incident when the cat ran away, Miss Pavlova then visited the cabin next to hers? Only to find its occupant lying lifeless on the floor. She said she was worried when she heard the sound of something falling on the floor. That's when she went to look. No, Angel? The door was not locked, so she opened to look, and you already know what happened after. There's just one thing, if you wouldn't mind. What? When you went to Mr. Ozaki's cabin, Miss Pavlova, was he already dead? Why, I already told you. When Nina opened door of student's cabin and looked inside, I was asking Miss Pavlova. Well, Miss Pavlova? Oh. Yes, that is right. I saw him. It was dark and he was wearing black, but he was on the floor, not moving. I was scared. I understand, and I believe you. So this is finally... So it is... Is that finally it now? Have we discovered the real truth about Kazama's death at last? Something nearly slipped my mind. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. This photograph. Yes, I took this myself, you know. The cause of death was a broken neck, therefore the victim died instantly. And the unfortunate incident that precipitated these events, a kitten on which the victim stumbled. However, if those are the facts, there is one particular area in this photograph that seems to be somewhat unnatural. What do you mean, unnatural? What are your thoughts on the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, if Kazuma tripped and fell, by some terrible stroke of bad luck broke his neck, part of this photograph seems unnatural. We know this hand was staged, which would already be unnatural, but why is his other hand clenched? Wouldn't he try to catch himself?
Yes!
Alright, if he really fell to do an unfortunate accident, then this fist doesn't seem quite right. The exact same thought occurred to me. In a fall, one's instinct is to open the palms flat. And here we see the victim with his left hand tightly balled into a fist. Almost, you might say, as though he were gripping something. What do you mean? Simply that I took the liberty of investigating the victim's fist a short while ago. You did? And what, pray, do you imagine I found there, my dear fellow? Mr. Sholmes, show us, please. Why, of course, my dear madame. Why would I keep you in suspense? This is what I found. A crescent moon with a little gemstone in the middle? Yes, you're right, a crescent moon. Very pretty, but what does it tell us? It tells us nothing. I'm not so sure. That crescent moon looks like... It looks familiar somehow. I'm sure I've seen it somewhere before. Observation, Mr. Naruhodo. Hi. How long have you been there? What? The truth is now tantalizingly close. How did the crescent moon come to be in Kazuma's clenched fist? That is the final clue, the last piece of the puzzle. Ask yourself, what does this little crescent moon mean? What significance has it? And observe. Find the answer with your own eyes. Okay, so I commented on this before, but it's the same one over there, right? So that would belong here.
Yes!
Miss Pavlova, I noticed that on your ear. Even though you have a metal earring, the decorative parts of it seems to be missing. The little link holding it must have broken, I suppose. What? Well, looking at your other ear, I noticed a crescent moon. I don't believe it. Now the missing crescent moon was found in the victim's clenched fist. Clearly there is only one logical conclusion. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes. Miss Pavlova, Sarazuki must have grasped that crescent moon and pulled it from your ear, perhaps just a moment before he fell to the floor. In other words, last night in Mr. Sarazuki's cabin, you witnessed the moment when the victim fell with your own eyes. In fact, you were quite literally at arm's length with him. But then the question is, why did Mr. Sarazuki do that? Why did he pull your earring from your ear and hold it with his clenched fist during his final moments? Oh no. Angel? No one can protect you now. Please, Miss Pavlova, tell us the truth. Last night, what did you do to Kazuma? When I think about everything that happened yesterday, it was too much. Running away, the fishing boat in the middle of the night, trying to climb into this huge ship. And then, when I was in the cabin last night, I could relax after this horrible long day. Darka, wait. I couldn't believe that she disappeared through the ventilator. I tried to call her with a little whistle. I tried waving her favorite toy. But nothing worked. Darka would not come back. What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector? Oh. I'm sorry. I thought it was a friend of mine. The young man from your country. He was very polite and kind. He helped me find Darka, and he promised not to tell anyone. But then, when I had my friend in my arms again, and I was going to leave the man's cabin... Just a moment. Sorry, but... yes? I'm sure I know your face. I've seen you somewhere before. I Of course. You're Nikolina Pavlova, aren't you? The Russian ballerina. No, I don't know that name. My heart nearly stopped when he said that. He knew who I was. How could this man from faraway east know a Russian ballerina? Yes, I saw your performance in Japan. The beauty of the ballet made a deep impression on me. But what are you doing on this ship? I'm sure I read that your ballet company was performing in Shanghai at the moment. I can't fool him. I have to tell him the truth and hope he doesn't tell anyone. I have no other choice. I see. So you ran away. Please keep my secret. Don't tell anyone. Give me a moment. Use another opinion here. He's going to pull that cord. He's going to tell the captain. I think I could trust him. And then it happened. Everything at once. It was only a second, but it felt like forever. Wait, I shouted, and then... Darker jumped out of my arms and down at the young man's feet. And... as he turned around to look at me... I pushed him. I don't even know why. I don't know why I did. I was just so scared. And I had to stop him from telling anyone else about me. And that's when you went to fetch help? From Seaman Stroganoff, who was on duty out in the passageway. I heard Nita cry out and thud on floor, so I ran to her. She was standing at the cabin door shaking like a leaf. She looked at me and said, "Help me, Biff. If they find out, I will be... Please, I have nowhere to go." So you decided to help. And that's when you arranged things in Kazuma's cabin to make it look like I did it. So no one would suspect the passenger in the cabin next door. Yes. I went in the cabin and I looked around to make sure there was nothing to show Nina there. And then I found Stowaway. In wardrobe. Still sleeping. Right, that's when he found me. So you worked out a plan. To lay the blame on the Stowaway. I closed wardrobe doors and put back strange paper sign. Luckily for me, that's the only reason Sarasov started to believe me when I said I was innocent. I dragged young man's body to a good place and used ink that was spilled to write on floor. I wrote, I'm not even going to be able to pronounce that, so that person who found him would look inside wardrobe to find Stowaway. And tell me, what did the glass bell? It was by my feet, so I picked it up. I see. But it was so dark in cabin, I didn't notice the other half. And then Angel went back to her cabin and I finished job. By pressing the emergency alarm button in the passageway. Yes. Accordingly, the SS Bureau did indeed come to an emergency halt a little after 2 a.m., thus enticing the bolt to the cabin door to slide shut, creating the locked room mystery. There's still one thing I don't understand, Miss Pavlova. What? Well, you said you told Kazuma about the fact that you had run away from your homeland. It's because you were worried he was going to tell the captain that you pushed him. Isn't that right? Yes. But if you had pulled the bell cord and called for the captain of the ship, aren't you friends with every member of the crew? Why would that have been a problem? It's what he said first that made me scared. What he said first? What are you doing this late at night, Inspector? Oh. I'm sorry. I thought it was a friend of mine. He said an inspector was his friend. Yes, meaning me. I was supposed to be acting as his bodyguard. I thought if the police knew about me, they would arrest me. So before he could pull the bell cord, May I stop you a moment, please, Miss Pavlova? It just doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, was Mr. Aragi really going to pull the bell cord? I don't know. What? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I'm not Kazuma, so I don't know for certain, but... he was a man of his word. He told you he wouldn't give your secret away, and he wouldn't have done. No, he was walking over to it. He was going to pull the cord. He was going to make them send me back. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, the day's work is not done, it seems. There's one more deduction to make. What? Another deduction? Yes. What action was the victim really about to take at that moment? Can we determine whether the young man's gaze was directed? First, consider the victim's location within his cabin. It's easy. I remember every detail of that room. I mean, yes, I spent quite a lot of time in the wardrobe, but still, the cabin was been my home for this entire voyage. So this is how the cabin looked last night when Miss Pavlova visited Kazuma-sama. Yes, it's exactly how it was. Are you ready then, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes. There's one thing I've learned today. It's that a simple gaze can reveal all manners of truths. And not only that, in order to drive the right conclusion, we can't afford to be out by even a little bit when we're following the gaze to where it lands. So when he turned away from Miss Pavlova, what exactly was Kazuma looking at? Oh, was he looking that up?
Take that!
Considering everything that happened last night, certainly it would have looked as though Kazuma was looking to ring the bell cord. Yes, however, what he is directly beside the bell cord, the wardrobe. The wardrobe? More importantly, what was inside the wardrobe? The man's great friend, sleeping soundly. Miss Pavlova, please, think back very carefully. What were Mr. Zagi's exact words last night? Give me a moment. I need another opinion here. Another opinion? Yes, but not from a member of the crew. No, Mr. Zagi intended to consult his close friend on the matter. To see if between them they might be able to help in some way, no doubt. Oh no. Sadly, we can't know the truth for certain now. It's too late for that. But I wish you had made sure of whom Mr. Zagi was looking at. Things may have ended very differently if you had. Miss Pavlova. I want to thank you for finally admitting the truth. But unfortunately, the truth is, a man lost his life because of what you did, and that will never change. I hope you'll never forget that. I'm sorry. Really, I'm so sorry. What have I done? What's it?
One corner here. Up about. Neat.
The mystery surrounding the tragic accident at SS Broria was finally ready. I want to say something, but I'm gonna wait until after I'm done streaming because it's terrible. Can't say that one without getting in trouble. What will happen to Miss Pavlova now then? Once we reach Great Britain, she'll be handed over to the British police at Scotland Yard. What about the fact that she ran away from Russia? Won't the Russians try to, repatriate her? What the fuck word is that? Apparently the English detective can speak out to immigration's office to sort all that out. So Sholmes can do that? So she won't be going back to Russia then? No, I don't think so. Even if she wanted to return in the future, I thought she would be able to. She ran away, so now she's in exile for life. I see. I'm sorry. You mean Stroganoff? I wanted to help our angel no matter what. But I didn't think about you, how you lost a good friend. I will go with Nina. I'll give myself to British police. That's kind of you. In the meantime, thank you for letting me go free again. Kazuma's death feels like such a waste, but... well, do what you can for Miss Pavlova, won't you? Ah. Well, I do need to pack now. I'm due to arrive in Hong Kong tomorrow. As much as it pains me, I'm going to have to hand you over to council to arrange your passage back to Japan. Yes, I did stow away after all. Couldn't really expect any different. So, you should go back to your cabin now. Let's My study tour to Great Britain is over before it even began then. To think that only a few days ago, Kazuma and I were laughing together about how we tear up the streets of London. It seems like a distant memory now. Oh, what's that? Is it someone weeping? Susato-san? Naruhodo-san, I didn't know you had returned. Oh, well, I hadn't been back long. Inspector Hasanaga told me I should pack, ready to leave the ship tomorrow and all that. I still can't believe this has happened. Can't believe someone's life can be over just like that. Susato-san? He had such grand ideas for his visit to Great Britain, so many dreams, and now they've just been cruelly taken away, just as he has. I thought I'd never forgive the person responsible, but now we know the truth, that it was just an accident. It was a silly series of mishaps. Too much, Naruhodo-san. It's just too much. Yes, I know. I wish there was something I could say. Inspector, my duty was to see Asagi-san safely to Great Britain, but I failed. Because those two closest friends, great pain and suffering as a result. I left everyone down. I'll do anything to make up for my terrible blunder. Nobody blames you, Inspector. Why am I in cuffs? And I'm free again at last. Huh?
You would say it like that. Why am I in cuffs again?
Surprise, Mr. Naruhodo? What is the meaning of this? Oh, a trifling matter. Simply that in your head, I think I shall always picture you wearing the shackles. Without them, the balance seems all wrong. It's distracting. Sorry?
Why am I in cuffs again?
That's exactly what happened. So it's decided to restore them for old time's sake. Shall you say, you are a stowaway after all. He thinks this is funny?
Yeah.
Mr. Sholmes. We do appreciate all your assistance. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Not at all, not at all. Though it's a little late, may I offer my sincere condolences? The loss of your companion is truly heartrending. Hope you'll be able to fulfill some of his aspirations in his honor. I'm afraid that won't be possible. We shall be disembarking at the next port, in Hong Kong. We have to return to Japan and make a full report about everything that's happened. Wait a minute. Is it just me that has to go back, isn't it? I mean, I was the stowaway. The terms of the study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice of both Great Britain and Japan. It was to be one lawyer and one assistant. Was to be? In the light of Mr. Azagi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. Oh no. I don't care for me, but... Poor Susato-san. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely. But there is no one else with the necessary qualification, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. Qualifications, you say? Any qualifications obtained in your own country will be little value in Great Britain, I'm afraid. Oh, but anyway, the voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. Yes. Mr. Sato? Yes? You think perhaps I might be able to do it? But you're not a lawyer, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, unless... Are you studying law? No, I'm not, but... Sorry, in that case, I don't think there's even a chance it could work. But as I said, there's still more than a month before we reach England's shores. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I have a month to which to study, to which I must become a lawyer, to learn what I must to become a lawyer in Great Britain. Mr. Naruhodo, that's ridiculous. Are you seriously suggesting anybody can learn all that in just 40 days? There's only one way to find out. I'll work my fingers to the bone, Inspector, every single day. Will you let me try? And if, by the time we reach Great Britain, I haven't learned enough to be recognized as a lawyer, I'll take whatever punishment is deemed appropriate. But why put yourself to such a difficult position? For Kazuma. He said he had something to do in Great Britain, and that he would sacrifice anything to make it happen. He was passionate about it. I can't let all that passion just come to nothing. And anyway, it's for my own benefit, too. I will become a lawyer. I have to. What do you say, Mrs. Sato? I think it's a wonderful idea. Thank you. So, what does our bespectacled inspector friend say? Are you serious? One lawyer and one assistant. The numbers are indisputable. No, it's madness. But fascinating, wouldn't you agree? Fascinating? Duty and rules are dual routine of existence that we all abhor. Give us interest. Give us fascination. Speak for yourself. Besides, qualifications are no measure of a man. What matters is his character, no? And you've witnessed ample evidence of this man's exemplary character today with your own eyes. From the early hours of this morning until this very moment now, despite contending with the passing of his close companion and despite the accusation of guilt, this man has shown resourcefulness, intelligence, and above all, courage. Very well. I'll think of a clever way to word my report to the Department of Justice. Inspector, after all, I did make a promise, didn't I? I said I'd do anything at all to make up for my shortcomings here. Oh, thank you, Inspector. If you'll excuse me, I must pay a visit to the captain's quarters, I think. I need to discuss what to do next. How best to make my report. Are you really prepared to attempt this, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I'm going to try. I wonder, would you consider teaching me what I need to know? Everything about being a lawyer? I'd be delighted to help you. I am a judicial assistant, after all. Thank you. And, Mr. Naruhodo? I'd like you to take charge of this. Me? Are you sure? I'm sure it's what Kazama-sama would have wanted. Its name is Kurama. It's a great sword that's been in the Asogi clan for generations. Very well, I accept. I'll treasure it always. So then, Mrs. Zato, it seems we'll be working together for some time to come yet. It will be an honor, Mr. Naruhodo. And for the next 40 days, I shall grant you a single minute of freedom. You'll fill every spare moment with study. Yes, that's exactly what I need. But before we begin, I have an earnest favor to ask of you, too. Goodness, what is it? Please throw me to the ground. 3 times. What? I should never have doubted you. You were Kazama-sama's closest friend. Of course you wouldn't have done anything to hurt him. That should have been obvious to me from the start. But I allowed suspicion to get the better of me. No matter how upset I was feeling, it was completely unforgivable behavior. No, you were in shock. No, I won't let you make excuses for me. Whatever the circumstances, I should never have thrown you. And not just once, but 5 times. Wait, 5 times? When did that happen? That number keeps creeping up, doesn't it? Please, you must. Just take hold of me and throw me. Do it. Don't even think about it. It sounds so bad. No, I don't even know how. I've never thrown anyone in my life. Very wise, Mr. Naruhodo. It isn't a skill one acquires without considerable training. Mr. Sholmes, I observed your throwing technique several times with great interest. I confessed I was most impressed. How did you see that? I presume that was a form of Japanese wrestling. Oh, well, in a way, it's not wrestling, but my own interpretation of an ancient jujitsu technique. Apparently it's called the Sasudo takedown. It leaves your head swimming, believe me. How beguiling. I'm a practitioner of combative arts myself. I am a somewhat accomplished boxer. There he goes, dancing around again. I wonder if you'd be so kind as to instruct me on the technique of your arresting throw. Yes, I'd be honored. Let us not dally. Demonstrate, my dear madame. Am I gonna get thrown again? Are you ready, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry? Yep. As you can see, you throw from the abdomen. Yes, arresting indeed. This is what you learned from, and that is what you term the Susato takedown, is it? Actually, no. That was the Susato squash. In my groggy state of consciousness, a scene from the evening recently spent with Kazuma flickered into my mind. Karama? That's right. It's a prized sword that's been passed down through generations of the Azogi clan. I can't believe you managed to get permission to bring it with you. I mean, taking katana on a study tour is more than a little irregular, surely. Japanese man's sword is his soul, Ryunosuke. I can't be parted from my katana. Haruma guides me. I truly believe that. So its name compels the wielder to slice evil in two? Not that you would have needed much compelling. On that subject, there was something very important that I have to do in Great Britain, and I'll sacrifice anything to make it happen. I appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it to the end with you. I knew you wouldn't let me down. That important thing he had to do. I still don't know what it was. But I'm going to see the place for myself and work it out. Great Britain's capital, London. And that's the end of the second case.
You have a pineapple as a detective. One of the glasses. He always seems beat up. Is that like a running joke or something? He's just always beat up.
One second. Okay, so I'm gonna end the stream there, and then we'll start up the third case either next extreme or either that or do Final Fantasy, or then maybe do this on Thursday. I don't know yet. We'll find out. We'll start the next case next time.